creating a Facebook group around your industry or your SaaS or your agency. Give me a comment below if that's something that you've ever considered or wanted to think about, and just in the early process of it. Let's see. I see there's a few comments. Michael, he's out in Miami Beach, Florida. Nice. Kip Sam says for sure. Okay, cool. I see a few of you that are jumping in here as well. Feel free to do that if you want to join me live in the group. You can, in the Zoom room. You can. Melanie says, I don't want a free group, but I considered a paid membership for Done With You support. Yeah, there's some creative ways to look at it, right? Andrew says yes. Okay, cool. So, a couple of things that I think we should think about when it comes to building a group. First things first, right? Gibson says I have one, but only 40 members. Okay, cool. We'll go into some of the details of how to grow these things. So if you are new to one of these webinars, this whole entire month we focused on agency organic prospecting. And I recommend you going back through it if you can. Watch the replays. It's in the YouTube channel or in the immediate Facebook group that we are streaming for all the high levelers. Now, we talked about cold emailing. We talked about LinkedIn. We talked about setting up your personal branding, your lighthouse, all these different things, right? But what I would say is when it comes to this last component of building out a community, whether it's a Facebook group or not, there is a timeline that you have to be sensitive about. It depends on where you are in your business. So if you are below, I would say about 15 to 20 clients, you don't need a Facebook group, okay? And the reason why I say that is because what you should really ultimately focus on in those early stages is setting appointments and closing appointments, okay? And that's where your focus should be. So I just want to make a disclaimer that you don't need a Facebook group to do prospecting. This is an additional add-on, something that's actually nice. It's not a need, okay? You don't have to have a group in order to do heavy amounts of prospecting. And typically, prospecting in a Facebook group could be really tricky as well. And even if you have it successfully, it's a temporary run. There's only so many people in the group, and there's only so many people you can really match an offer with, right? So what I want to do is really spend about 10 minutes talking about this, or 15 minutes talking about this. And I'm going to basically do a Q&A session rest of the way in any topics or any areas that we covered this entire month when it comes to organic marketing. And I want to just bring clarity over to you. A lot of you have jumped into one-on-one sessions with me to help you coach and things like that. And I'm happy to go through those questions again if you want me to. But regardless, I just want to spend about 10-15 minutes because this is not a big subject for us to spend too much time on. I just want to cover it for you. This ideally would be the last component of your organic prospecting before you launch paid ads, okay? So just fundamental steps that you want to pay attention to, okay? Education is a great way to curate a Facebook group in my mind, and that's the way I did it in the past. I focused in on healthcare in the past, and back when I had my healthcare agency, I had about 4,000 people in there that were from the healthcare industry and marketing industry that were focused on healthcare, right? So there was this commonality that I focused on, which is around a niche and a topic, and that allowed me to come up with a content wheel. My content wheel is really you understanding the market and figuring out what do they really want and talking about those things. You can do research and talk about it. You can speak from personal experience. But if you're going to build out a group, you better be ready to create some content. Okay? Otherwise, you're going to put everybody in one place. They're not going to know what it's for. And then typically they don't stick around for the long haul, right? So you want to avoid that. The worst thing you can do is put together a group and there's only a few amount of people and there's not a ton of engagement, right? And if people are not engaging in there, it just goes into the back burner, right? So First thing you want to do is come up with a content wheel, right? The second thing you want to do is really set up educational email marketing. So when we talked about email marketing, we talked about buying lists, curating lists, scraping lists. But this particular list that I'm talking about that you can educate through are people that responded to you. They've become a positive response of some kind, or even a negative response in some scenarios. You can essentially curate them as well with education. But ultimately, these are people that have interacted with you. It's not just a random list, right? So when you have a group of people like this, you start educating them through your email efforts. Eventually, when you have a Facebook group that you want to launch, it's easy to just invite them into a scenario like that, right? But if you're in the early stages, this is not something you need or even need to worry about. If you're under 20 clients, you should just focus on setting appointments, closing appointments. This stuff that I'm talking about today is not going to matter a whole lot, okay? The third thing I want to tell you is really creating a niche specific Facebook group. You shouldn't create a Facebook group that's broad in the topics. I would say go deeper into the industry or a sub niche and then focus all in on that versus keeping it broad. I've seen that being a lot more effective versus, hey, here's an automations thing, and then you're catering to aesthetic practices or furniture stores or something random, and they don't have a reason to be there just because it's around automations. They don't know how that would apply to them, right? And the third thing is the last thing is setting up invitational style emails and automations to take people from your list into your group, okay? Now, as you go through this, what you want to do is create like a filtered wall. You have to really understand who your avatar is that you want to serve and just focus in on that criteria of those members, right? Maybe for some of you, it's like somebody who is interested in starting a business, right? And that's who you want to get in front of early on before they even start the business. Some of you, you only want to have a group of people that's been in the industry for at least 3 years, right? So there's different criterias that you want to figure out and build out based on your offers. And that's something that I would pay attention to. The most important thing is, what should they get out of coming into your group, right? What should they get out of absorbing your strategies and content? And that the only way you're going to be able to figure that out is by talking to the people in the industry. You'll see, like, as soon as you have a group, you'll get a lot of phone calls from it or sessions from it where people just want to ask you questions, right? And maybe they're not sales calls, but they're interactions that happen that could potentially be turned into a sales call later. Now, you want to be relevant, right? You want to make sure that your content, everything that you put together in these groups are the latest and the greatest and the most relevant content of the time that you're serving, which is now, right? So really do your research before you put together content and things like that. Now, the last thing I want to share with you is that brand positioning matters, right? So just be you and share your journey. I don't recommend you trying to impress anybody. I don't recommend you trying to, showcase your business in any way, shape, or form. If you're starting out, just share your journey as you're starting out and just be authentically you. And that's the way I did it early on. I just started telling people, hey, I'm getting ready to start a marketing agency. I would love for you to be on this journey with me. Is it okay if I invite you into my Facebook group so you can follow and we can follow each other? And that's the way I grew my group to almost 4,000 people at the time, right? Invitations to interviews are great. So as soon as you have a group of people, what you want to do is bring in outsiders, right? Bring in outsiders that are essentially really, really big followers. Influencers or somebody who has significance or they have audiences. Because if they have audiences, what you can do then is ask them if they would be willing to invite people into your group, right? So same industry specific groups now can interact with each other just because the leaders are collaborating, right? And that's a really clever way to grow your audience, okay? Bring in other people in the industry for interviews within the group. The other thing is understanding the Facebook algorithm organically. As soon as you post something, you want to make sure somebody's hearting it and commenting on it. And there's like an edge ranking system that Facebook follows where the the news feed and things that people see is based on fast engagement, right? So when you see a ton of comments, you're gonna see those posts being shown on these news feeds a lot more than anything else, and that also includes posts in a Facebook group. Okay. When it comes to writing content, I recommend long copies where you're talking about a certain problem, how you had a certain solution, and then a call to action as you build it out. But growing a group is really more of a organic branding position. It's not necessarily something that's going to bring you a ton of leads. Okay, I would say what it would do is create that authoritative expertise position for you. When they do jump on a call, you can say, hey, listen, I have a group of this many people. You know, even if you don't want to do business with me today, is it okay if I invite you into the Facebook group of like-minded professionals like yourself? I just want to share what we're doing, other people share what they're doing, and you're also able to share what you want to do or what you're doing as well. So it's an easy way for all those prospects who say maybe but not now, but maybe later. Like if you have prospects like that where they're kind of wanting to do business with you but they're not sure, you can easily bring them into a Facebook group, and then all of a sudden your sales cycle will speed up. But typically it's not a breeding ground to generate new leads. It's a great way to curate existing prospects early on and move them into the sales cycle. Okay. Any questions? Anything that I should add on to this? I wanted to keep today pretty brief. What I wanted to really do was just talk on this subject of building the community for about 15 minutes, which I just did, and now we can go into a Q&A about anything we covered in agency organic prospecting throughout the month. And if any of you want to jump into the Zoom call, you can. The link should be on the streaming. Or I'm watching the Facebook streaming here on my phone. So if you put in a question around organic prospecting, I can answer that now. Okay. Let's see. Let's see these questions that are coming in. Let's see. Any questions around organic prospecting, guys, or community building? Right. Like I said, you know, you don't want to do this too early. You want to do this after you got about 20 to 30 clients or even less, maybe 15, 20 clients where you have enough substance to talk about, right? And go from there. Jose says it's just us. No, I'm following the Facebook streaming, Jose, and looking at the questions there. Go ahead, Jose. I think my streaming has a little bit of a lag, so it's hard for me to see this as the questions come in. But go ahead, Jose.
Hey, sorry, Austin. And I like I said, thank you for doing everything, man. I really enjoy your sessions, man, for sure. I get a lot out of it. I have a quick question, man, about the building your organic, email prospecting and all of that. When you go ahead and get someone hired, kind of overseas, whatever. Um, how does like, the payment work? Like, how does how does that work? Like, do you just use like WhatsApp or certain types of
Yeah,
uh,
are you asking how do I pay my prospecting VAs?
correct, and
Yeah,
and and
I usually set it up on PayPal. Usually PayPal is an easy way for them to get paid, and it converts everything for them. So PayPal is my favorite way to go about it when it comes to VAs.
and that's and that and from and I know you're not a tax person, but I know you've done this before. But from a tax perspective, is it just like an expense from a business
Yep.
side?
Yep. Yeah, you
You
just write off all your contractors as an expense.
you don't have to do like a 1099 or nothing like that.
No, you could do it as you could do a 1099 for like let's say you have like a Facebook ad buyer that's handling all your accounts or something like that. But for something like this, I just your accountants could write it off. It's not a big deal typically. Unless you have hundreds of people, that you should probably have on payroll instead, right? But typically for like one or two people, I've never had any issues on taxes.
Thank
Yeah, I just pay him on PayPal. It comes out of my banking account, and then my CPA will tell me, hey, out of PayPal, this much money went out for paying for contractors, right? And that's just the way we did it.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good question. And did you already hire a VA or in the process of it? Or what's happening there?
Yeah, I'm in the process, man. I'm in the process of trying to figure out. I joined like two groups yesterday for email marketing groups on Facebook, and I'm gonna post the questions in there to see what I get and
Okay.
see. So I think that's what Natalia did, I believe. So I'm gonna try to follow it up.
Yeah, it's easy to, for me, it was always easy to go into huge groups of marketing people and, ad buyers to find marketing oriented marketing agency VAs. I'm not a fan of like Upwork and things like that. Unless it's administrative VAs that I'm trying to find. But for prospecting purposes, I've always had success finding people in ad buyer Facebook groups. And honestly, you may have to go through a couple of VAs until you find a rock star, and that takes time. And don't be afraid to, hire slow and fire fast, That's just the
Yep,
way, that's the name of the game in every space, actually.
yep, yep. Cool,
Okay.
man.
Cool, guys. So as I see questions coming in, I'll go ahead and just answer it on the thread. Tyler, I see Tyler's watching, Chris is watching, Douglas is watching, Gareth is watching. Guys, we're just doing an open Q&A today. First 15 minutes, I talked about things to watch out for if you're gonna build out a Facebook group for yourself. Don't do it too early and just focus on education more than anything else. And bring in experts to talk about subjects that is outside of your thing. But if you have any questions around this month's topics, which was around organic marketing altogether, we can go through those Q&As now. Tyler says there is a cold email video, right? Yeah, there is. If you go to the YouTube channel, Tyler, there is a playlist called January series, which is organic prospecting. Our production team loaded up literally all 9 or 10 of those webinars we did so far. Okay, this upcoming month, which is February, we are going to talk about sales. We're going to talk about sales processes. We're going to talk a little bit about offers and sales funnels. And I've got some exciting things planned, and I don't want to talk about it too early, but as I figure out my full deliverable over to you guys, I'll make some announcements. We're going to more than likely run a big event around the month as well, probably in the middle of the month, and I'm gonna have some surprises for you guys, similar to what we did for 10K in 10 days, similar to that workshop we did with Joel Kaplan. We're gonna do something around the same caliber with somebody really special for you guys. But we're gonna cover all of sales in February. This month was all around organic marketing and prospecting, and I will be honest with you. Your organic stuff is the blocking and tackling, right? Sorry, I'm losing my voice. The organic stuff is not sexy, it's not fun, it's not attractive, it's hard work. But if you launch your organic side, when you do launch your paid ads after that, you'll see a significantly different level of success for your paid ads. And paid ads is the holy grail of running your agency and scaling your agency. You have to do it through paid ads. But if you don't have any social traction organically, it's pretty hard to run paid ads long term. So that's why we covered organic prospecting first. February will be all around sales processes, building out sales, how to track sales, appointment setters, closers, like literally things of that nature, putting together your offers. And I'm gonna have some cool things planned out for you guys. Gene, I know you just jumped in. Any questions from you around anything? We can cover that as well. I know Jose just had a question that we answered. Those of you that are watching in the Facebook streaming as well, if you type down your question, I can answer that as well. Okay, guys, I'm going to accept that there's no more questions. Yeah, Gene says, no, I'm not ready to do a group. Just wanted to get an idea for the future. Yeah, I recommend, Gene, if you, I mean, whoever's watching, if you're under 20 clients, you don't need a group. I'm saying this over and over. After you get to about 15, 20 clients is when it's a good time to start thinking about a group. But right now, you should focus on setting appointments, closing appointments, and that's what's going to move the needle for you. It's not going to be a Facebook group. But it is something that you can cleverly leverage and use to become an expert in the industry. And also, you're going to build a platform and a stage for other people to be able to come in, like partners and affiliates as well, right? So, you definitely should think about it as an option. But either way, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day early today because the topic we didn't have a whole lot to talk about, and we'll keep in touch. I'm getting ready and excited for going into sales topics in February. Take care.